I'm Nora Duncan, State Director for AARP Connecticut, and welcome to another episode of Coffee and Tea with AARP CT, an interview series on the issues important to people 50 plus in Connecticut and their families. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, Mairead Painter. She is the state's long-term care ombudsman. Mairead will be walking us through some of her legislative priorities today, and I would love, Mairead, because a lot of people don't understand what you do as the long-term care ombudsman. If you could tell us about you, your office, and what you guys do every day.
Sure, great. And thanks for having me back again. It's always wonderful to connect with you and all of the individuals we actually both serve. So yes, the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Office, we represent the rights of individuals receiving long-term services and supports. People always ask, well, what does that mean? So this is for individuals who are currently living in nursing homes, residential care homes, managed residential communities, also known as assisted living. And now even in the greater community, for people who are receiving long-term services and supports, we're doing information and consultation depending on our bandwidth. But those are the people that we serve. And you also can call about someone if you have a question or concern related to anyone receiving those services or in those settings.
Mairead, you have had a lot of great wins at the legislature over the last 5 years. I mean, more than that, but let's talk the last 5 years or so. And I know that at AARP, a lot of times when we have really great wins, there's people who don't love them because if they were easy to pass, they would pass all the time, right? And there was never an objection, etc. But we're on defense. Are you playing defense for the 2026 legislative session at all?
Oh, that's a great question. So there are things that have always come up, right? There are things that impact the greater industry. When I talk about the industry, I'm talking about our long-term care settings like nursing homes. And so we have seen pushback. We've seen things where we have gotten bills across the finish line, and then there might be issues and concerns that come up. Some of those concerns are related to staffing at some points, the number of hours, which just made it through a reg review this week and has now been formalized into regulation of the 3.0. As well as the decrease in number of beds that can be in nursing homes, so 3 and 4 bed rooms. During COVID, there was a huge impact, and we really realized that having people in 3 and 4 bedrooms wasn't only difficult socially and emotionally, but also for infection control reasons. So there was a bill passed to have those beds decreased in those buildings, and I do anticipate some pushback on that this session. That I get it. I understand where people are coming from. It's less beds in a skilled nursing facility, but the overall quality of life and well-being for the individuals who live there, I think really needs to be the priority.
Yeah, I would agree with you. We helped work on that legislation and we will help you play defense on that. Yeah, we do not want to see 3 or 4 people, especially 4 people in the same room. And, I think you and I both have or had kids in college recently. I tried to think about how much infection there would be if you put 4 college kids in a dorm room all together, which doesn't happen anymore. And I mean, think about a nursing home when people's immune systems are weaker and you're really just in close contact with a lot of people anyway. Let's try to not make it everybody that you live with as well. Okay, so you talked to me recently about nursing home residents using two-way communication technology in their rooms. That is legislation that we worked on together before the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, we actually finally passed it because, as you know, we saw people couldn't go into nursing homes to see their loved ones. It was, really difficult times for folks, but we were able to get this passed. So you can use the same kind of technology in a nursing home where you live as you do at your home and in the community. So tell me about next steps in this policy.
So being able to use the technology if you're choosing in the place you call your home, right? So there's been a lot of focus on over the past 10 years that individuals in nursing homes, it's their home. In assisted living, it's your home. Same thing with a residential care home. And so we did, thankfully, pass the bill saying that residents can use or individuals can use the technology they're choosing in their home, which means like this, like you and I being able to have a virtual conversation, all the way to security or cameras, recording devices that you or I use in our homes, right? And so we want to ensure that individuals can have that, but it also protects privacy. So you have to have certain forms signed, post certain things. But we've noticed that there's one setting that was not included in the legislation, and that is our residential care homes. They're considered community, so I don't think we didn't think we needed to put that into the legislation. However, there has been some pushback. We want to make sure that it's really defined that yes, all individuals receiving long-term services and supports in their home and in the setting they're choosing to live in have the right to use any type of communication or recording device of their choosing.
And Mairead, are there any penalties associated currently with not, if you're, I don't know, the nursing home tells you can't have something, or they turn it off when you want it on, anything like that?
Yes, we are this session looking for there to be penalties related to that, because right now, if someone has a camera or is using technology in their room and a staff member comes in and turns it off, oh, hello, cat. A staff member comes in and turns it off or moves it or adjusts it, puts something in front of it, Department of Public Health can go in and note that and tell them to knock it off, but there is not a way to cite them for that or to fine them for that. And without a penalty, sadly, people don't always make the right choices. And I wish it wasn't something we had to legislate, but unfortunately, it seems like it is something that we're going to have to put in place.
Yeah. It does make you think there's a reason why someone's tampering with it. So if you're not there with the best of intentions, maybe we need to make sure there's penalties so that the best of intentions are protected and what we strive for, right?
You don't have to worry about it. If you're not doing something wrong, you shouldn't have to worry that a camera's on. Just like we walk into buildings, restaurants, offices all the time where there's cameras on.
Yep. Okay, so tell us about where you see the rest of the 2026 session going. Do you think like what the most impactful proposals for residents might be, residents of long-term care settings or even less restrictive settings? So, what are your folks that you work with on these proposals most excited about?
So for the residents in long-term care settings like nursing homes, they really want to see a cost of living tied to their personal needs allowance. The personal needs allowance is the amount of money someone on Medicaid is allowed to keep a month. Right now it's $75, and that's challenging. They have to pay for everything personally they want out of that $75. Haircuts, cell phones, going out to dinner, just any little thing, clothing, socks. And so it's really important that we make sure that that personal needs allowance keeps up with the cost of living. So we're looking for a cost of living adjustment that the residents would receive on a regular basis to ensure that their funds are keeping up with inflation. The residents are very passionate about that. We have an executive board of presidents of resident council, and they've really asked me to make sure that that's one of our main focuses this session, getting that across the finish line. They even have their own little slogan they're starting and working on.
So when is the last time they got a boost in their personal needs allowance?
Well, it had been a very long time, like I want to say like 10 years. And then I think 2 years ago, 2 or 3 sessions ago, it went up to the $75. Now we know that there's been an incredible amount of inflation. We'd really like to see something tied to when they receive a Social Security increase, that they either receive it then, or if we have a employment, right, a minimum wage increase, that maybe that's when they see it too, because those are also tied to inflation. So we think those are strategies that we might be able to use and talk to DSS and the legislature about.
Yeah, so it's interesting when you talk about the cost of living adjustment for Social Security, because tell me if I'm wrong about this, but if I'm consistently kept at $75 and that's statutorily capped, every year there's a cost of living adjustment in Social Security, but the only one getting that adjustment to account for inflation is the state who's helping the Medicaid program, the nursing home, who's getting that cost of living adjustment. That's not the person whose Social Security it actually is.
Correct. That goes back to the state. And so they receive the full amount. We would like to see a percentage or a fixed amount. Maybe it be $5 at a time, $2 at a time, but somehow just show that little bump up. The residents are very focused on the word COLA, just like you or I. If you got a soda out of a vending machine, that would be your entire cost of living increase a month per year. It's not a huge amount, but every year it would make a little bit of a difference for those individuals.
Yeah. Yep. It's not easy to maintain your, your wardrobe, your hair, your general, life. You are supposed to be
Yep.
living in a nursing home with $75 a month. And I know people probably think, well, your meals are covered, et cetera, but you still might want a snack. You still might want to do something that is not provided for you, and 75 bucks doesn't go very far. So we are with you on that too. Um, Anything else for the legislative session or 2026 in general that you would like to highlight for folks that we have not covered so far?
We would really like to see, I'm not sure if everyone understands or knows how the industry works, but we've seen management companies come in. So you have the nursing home owners, you have the individuals who are running the building day to day, and then there's these management companies that do oversight and provide support to the individuals who either own or run the building. And we have currently accountability and legislation in place related to abuse and neglect associated to the people who are running the building, the people who own the building, but not to the management companies. And the management companies make a lot of the day-to-day decisions and put requirements on the administration and the owners. Sometimes they're the same person, the owners and the management companies. So we want to make sure that everyone who provides that daily decision making is covered under those regulations. And so we're asking that there be a bill put in place to just add management companies to the language on those required penalties for abuse and neglect or exploitation. Go ahead.
Interesting. And so when you say sometimes they're the same person, is it one company, but they've formed a spin-off to become the management company? So if they make a decision that results in abuse and neglect, which I'm not saying is happening all the time or anything, but if let's just say there was a decision made by the management company, even though they're the same people who own the building, there's nowhere for the state to go after accountability on that abuse and neglect.
Correct. So the
Okay.
management company often, in many cases, is yes, you're correct. An offshoot or a spin-off, as you said, of the owner or the same company.
You told me also, I think, more recently about windows and air conditioning, which was something I didn't understand until you explained it. You
Yes.
wanted to tell me about that? It just occurred to me.
Sure. Yes. We have started to see in some nursing homes that they are screwing or nailing the windows shut. And not all nursing home rooms have access to air conditioning in the room. Sometimes it's in the hallway, in a main room. And we really think that it's essential that people have access to fresh air, cool air. We would want to be able to open our windows so that we believe there should be something passed that requires that if there are working windows that are supposed to be working in a nursing home in rooms that are not air conditioned, that they should have the ability to open and close those windows at will. Now, there are specifications for safety, how high they can open, what reinforcements need to be in place. And we want, of course, for safety reasons, for them to follow all of that, but that the windows should be able to open for fresh air.
I don't think these are things that the average person thinks about in terms of, a quality of life. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention and to the attention of the legislature. All right. That is about all the time we have today.
Can I add
Mairead.
one more thing?
Oh, yeah, I'll give you
More,
more
please.
time.
Give me one more thing. Secure units. We hear a lot about individuals being on secure units, locked units. They're called lots of different things. Historically, we had seen them being used for individuals with cognitive disorders, dementia, Alzheimer's, where they had specialized programming and support. We've sort of seen offshoots of that where they've started to use it for things they call behaviors or additional supports. And we've gotten complaints about individuals who don't want to live on those units, who feel like they're being forced to live on those units. That is not allowed. An individual has to be allowed to live in the least restrictive setting. You can't be using locked or secured units for staffing reasons. And we are really looking at who is signing for these individuals to have their constitutional rights, right? So habeas corpus, put behind a door, locked in without a judge's order. So if it's someone who is conserved, we're looking at, did the probate judge give permission to that conservator to make that decision for someone to be at that higher level of care and behind locked doors? If not, is if the person is saying they don't want to be there. Now, I'm not talking about your average person who has progressed in their memory care concerns and is on a unit for, like I said, added activity and support and stimulation. They're not saying, I don't want to be here, other than maybe in the evening they're seeking a home. But we really want to look at what are the rights of those people, who is signing for them to be on those units, and is it being done appropriately, and put some protections in place.
Okay, interesting. I'll look forward to the public hearing on that. All right, Mairead, any last? You're good?
Nope.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for all of your support, and as always on your partnership with legislative session.
And I think that's enough. That's a lot to work on from February to May, which is when our legislative session runs. And so we will wrap up. Thank you to Mairead and to your staff who are, amazing, from the folks who are in the office to the folks who are in the field. And so thank you to our e-advocates who take the time to email their elected officials on important issues when we ask them to. And it's that time of year that the Army of Red Shirt AARP volunteers will be at the state capitol. They're all geared up for our 2026 session, so we'll see them there. And remember, you can easily join us as an e-advocate and help us advance policies important to the 50+ in Connecticut and nationwide. Just go ahead and scan the QR code and sign up. Thanks again, Mairead, and take care.